The Chicago Bulls find a way to get a win as they beat the Utah Jazz 128 to 126. We're going to be talking about the key takeaways from tonight's win. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Modest Buzelis slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. And so make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we are talking about the key takeaways from tonight's win against the Utah Jazz. And so I always like to start with the points that describe this game. And so the first one being that this game was very much a back and forth type of game. And so this game was just like what we saw last night against the Houston Rockets. Both teams would make a little bit of a run, then the other team would respond. And then the Chicago Bulls did pull away from the Utah Jazz. And so you have to give the Utah Jazz a lot of credit. They were able to close and then get back into the game and almost steal this game away from the Chicago Bulls. And so it took a final layup from Vooch with 4 seconds to go ahead and get the Chicago Bulls the win. And so, the team came back after a tough loss against the Houston Rockets and battled back to win a tight game against the Utah Jazz. And so big credit there to the Chicago Bulls for getting it done. And then the next point out of this is that Brice Sensabaugh had a terrific game for the Utah Jazz and made some history. And so he is point number 2 in this game. And so Brice Sensabaugh comes off the bench for the Utah Jazz and has really a spectacular performance. He had 43 points, a -2 in the plus-minus box score. He had 2 turnovers, 2 steals, 2 assists, 5 rebounds, 8 of 8 from the free throw line, 5 of 10 from deep, and 15 of 22 from the field in 34 minutes. And so, with his performance, first of all, with 21 points in the first, those are the most points by a player off the bench in any quarter in the last 30 years. And then as far as the Utah Jazz, I believe now he set the new Jazz record for a second unit player on the road here. And so Brice Sensabaugh had a very good performance. He just could not miss out there. And another player that played well for the Utah Jazz and really helped them get back into the game and almost steal this thing away was Keyonte George. And so 25 points for him, a +2 in the plus-minus box score, 9 of 10 from the free throw line, 8 of 17 from the field in 34 minutes with 7 assists and 3 rebounds. And so both players played extremely well in this game. And so next, I wanted to go ahead and jump into the starters and the bench and just take a look at everybody and just talk about what they did in this game. And so starting with Vooch. And so Vooch had a big 35 points for the Chicago Bulls, led the way, had another game winner. I believe this is his now 4th on the year. And so Vooch getting it done in the clutch. And so with the 35 points, the key stat out of that is that Vooch scored 24 of those in the paint. And that really leads me to the main point with Vooch is that this is the type of game that I would love to see from Vooch a bit more often. And it's the fact that he was more near the rim, kind of attacking it with his hook shot and everything else. Like he was not standing out on the perimeter, just shooting up 3-pointers. And I think that is what Nikola Vucevic is going to have to do as he continues to play with the Chicago Bulls this season. And so 35 points, 2 blocks in this game. He also had 5 assists, 7 rebounds. He was 5 of 6 from the free throw line, 2 of 6 from deep, 14 of 22 from the field in 31 minutes. And also, too, talking about those blocks, Vooch had an excellent block in the 4th quarter that really helped seal the deal for the Chicago Bulls. And so terrific defense from Vooch. That's 2 nights in a row. And so next, going into the next player here, and that is with Tre Jones. And so look, Tre Jones, he did not score a whole bunch of points like he did the night before. But what I love about Tre Jones is just he's so crafty. He's so smart with the basketball in his hands and just knows when to attack defenders. He was terrific at setting up teammates. He was a terrific point guard for us tonight. And so when you're talking about a true point guard, it is Tre Jones. And so I loved what we saw from him tonight. And I like the fact that he continues to get into the teeth of the defense, make tough layups. But the biggest play that Tre Jones made was at the end. And so it was a missed shot. And then it was a save by Issac Okoro. And so we're going to talk about him in a moment. But Tre Jones makes a beautiful assist for the game-winning layup. In fact, this was the play right here. Tre Jones avoids going out of bounds, hits Vooch, and that would seal it for the Chicago Bulls. And so it's those type of plays from Tre Jones that just don't show up enough in the stat sheet. So a terrific game for him. Next, Coby White. And so with Coby White, it was a tough night tonight. And you can just tell that Coby White, when he sits, due to not being able to play in these back-to-back situations and just really with the way the season has gone, it really throws his rhythm off. But he's still playing, I think, with some confidence out there. He had a chance to take a shot. Didn't necessarily look comfortable out there in that final possession, but still, Coby White just trying to find his rhythm here. But 6 points, a -11 in the plus-minus box score. He did have 5 turnovers in this game. And so, again, that just goes into what I'm saying. He just didn't look too comfortable at times out there. The 7 assists, 7 rebounds. He also was 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 2 of 7 from the field in 30 minutes. In fact, I think Coby White did not score his first basket, I believe, until the second quarter. But I will give him some credit here is that he does make some history. And so he actually passed Joakim Noah there for 14th, I think, on the Bulls all-time assist list there. And so, congrats there to Coby White. And so next, Modest Buzelis. And so Modest Buzelis, 7 points in this game. He had the 2 personal fouls, 2 assists. He was 1 of 4 from downtown. He was 3 of 7 from the field in 19 minutes. And so, the biggest thing here with Modest Buzelis is that he had a little bit of a stretch. I believe it was 7 straight games with 15 plus. And it just didn't happen tonight. So it wasn't the best night for him. A lot is being talked about with him not being out there in the fourth or whatnot. But look, it just wasn't his night. And this was the type of night where you had other players that were playing well. And the bottom line is that the Chicago Bulls are trying to win the game. And so Modest Buzelis just didn't have it tonight. It was Vooch's night. And I did like some things that Modest Buzelis did. And so, I think that the one thing that I liked with Modest Buzelis is that he continues to find these like gaps in the defense on these cuts, and he keeps getting these dunks and stuff like that. And so I think that that's going to be big for Modest Buzelis to keep doing that. In fact, I think he's at 100 career dunks or something like that now. And so Modest Buzelis, he is certainly going to attack the rim if he can get to that. And then I think another thing too with his performance tonight is just that you notice that he only took 7 shots. And so I think for Modest Buzelis, he's got to take some more shots. And so just not the best performance, but he'll be all right. I think he'll be fine heading into the next game. And so Issac Okoro. And so with Issac Okoro, look, I love his effort. I think that is exactly what you saw from Issac Okoro. He made some really tough layups in the lane, getting hit and everything else, and being able to finish that, once again, knocking down a 3-point shot. But the biggest play that he made was the play that we just saw here with the Tre Jones play, where he's the one that actually saves that to Tre Jones so he could get that assist to Vooch. And so I just love the effort that we are seeing from Issac Okoro. And I think that is really going to be the game for him. You're not going to call plays for him. He's just a guy that's just going to go out there and scrap and find ways to get it done. And so I'm thinking that the offense is going to come along some more, especially once you get Josh Giddey back out there distributing, the basketball, and him continuing to cut the baseline and everything else like he's doing, because he's excellent, I think, at off-ball movement. And so I think eventually that's going to start to pay off for him. And so 12 points, 3 assists in this game. He did have 4 personal fouls. He also had 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 of 10 from the field, 1 of 4 from deep in 34 minutes. Next, the bench. And so starting with Jalen Smith. And so Jalen Smith continues to play well. And I was surprised that Jalen Smith did not start in this game. And so I thought that he would perhaps get the start. Let's see what Billy Donovan decides to do. It looks like that he's very much adjusting the lineup depending on the type of team that they're taking on. And so I think that with the Utah Jazz, they were, I think, a bit undersized there. And so went with Coby White, nevertheless. And so Jalen Smith comes off the bench and has another strong performance. And so he has a double-double in this game, 12 points, 10 rebounds. He was a -2 in the plus minus box score, 4 of 6 from the free throw line, 3 of 7 from the field, 2 of 5 from deep in 17 minutes. And so he did get hit in the face again. So I was worried that, perhaps he might be heading to another, concussion protocol. But he shook that off because he got hit by Walter Clayton, I believe, driving to the lane. So that was a good thing that he was okay. And he also knocked down a couple 3 balls early. And so he had been struggling with that. Not saying that that's necessarily what you want to just always see with Jalen Smith, because I think he's done a great job this year as far as mixing it up. But the fact that he knocked down the 3 balls, hopefully that is going to be something that continues with him. And again, he's having a great season. And so next, Patrick Williams. And so didn't have too much to say about Patrick Williams against the Houston Rockets. But in this game, the one thing that I will say about Patrick Williams is that he was decisive. And that means that he was just going out and he just wasn't thinking about things. And so I like the drives that we saw from him. I like the fact that he wasn't hesitating to shoot the 3 ball and everything else. Like, he just seemed locked in today. And so 13 points. He was a +9 in the plus minus box score, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 3 of 3 from downtown, 4 of 6 from the field in 23 minutes. And so, look, whatever Patrick Williams did to get ready for this game, hopefully he can continue to do this the rest of the season. That's exactly what we'd like to see from him. And so next, Dalen Terry. And so, look, Dalen Terry, to me, I mean, if we're talking about MVP performances, I think that he's right there. And I'm just thinking, as this game was going along, Dalen Terry looked like Dalen Terry from Arizona. Like, he looked completely comfortable out there. And I mean, it seemed like that there was 5 Dalen Terrys. I love the fact that he's showing the confidence to knock down the 3 ball. I just love the scrappiness that we're seeing on defense. And I just think that if Dalen Terry can continue to do this, it is going to be very hard to keep him out of the rotation. And so 11 points, he was a +2 in the plus minus box score. He also had 2 blocks. He had 3 steals in this game, 3 of 4 from downtown, 4 of 7 from the field in 13 minutes. Again, that is just great production, 13 minutes, and able to come in and impact the team like that. So next, Kevin Huerter. And so, look, Kevin Huerter did not have, the prettiest game, out there. He certainly struggled from downtown. He continues to struggle there, but he does so many other good things. And so he did knock down a 3 off ball with the movement. And also, too, he had a nice little hanging layup as well. And so just finding ways to help the team at times. He had some nice little dump downs. And so he had one to Vooch. He had another one to Jalen Smith, which led to a free throw attempts for him. And so just good basketball IQ plays with him. And so that when Kevin Huerter can start to knock down the shot, it's going to really help the Bulls take off here. And so 10 points, he was a +11 here in the plus minus box score. He did have 5 personal fouls. I actually love that, the fact that he's out there scrapping on defense like that. And so 1 assist, 3 rebounds, 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 2 of 5 from downtown, 3 of 7 from the field in 19 minutes. Again, liking the fact that he's getting active with the fouls. Look, you cannot take them home with you. Might as well use them. And so next, Ayo Dosunmu. And so with Ayo Dosunmu, he was terrific. I thought that Ayo was really strong in the fourth quarter. He had some big plays where he had an and one there. He had a nice little runner as well. Continues to play well off the bench here. And so 15 points, a +8 at the plus minus box score, 6 assists, 3 steals in this game. In fact, one of the steals he had was off an inbounds play, and that was very, very nice with his energy and hustle there. Also, too, he was 1 of 1 from the free throw line, 6 of 11 from the field, 2 of 6 from deep in 28 minutes. And so, again, another strong performance from Ayo Dosunmu. In fact, this is one of his fourth quarter buckets, just crossing over, getting in there and getting the and one. And so if you got a chance to listen to the game, pretty sure that was in him in the mic saying and one. And so I loved hearing that from Ayo today. And so anyway, that was the starters. That was the bench performances here for the Chicago Bulls. And so quickly, just jumping into just the team box score and taking a look at that. So, I think that you get a chance to see that the Bulls did it just really just as a collective effort. There were a lot of players that were able to get into the double figures. In fact, I think what's very impressive about this is that the only player that scored 20 plus was Vooch, and so everybody else was under the 20 plus mark, but still they did it as a group there. And so the strength in numbers very much there for the Chicago Bulls in this game. And so taking a look at the field goal percentage here for the Chicago Bulls, you see that they shot 51%. The Jazz shot 55%. From downtown, the Bulls 40%, the Jazz 29%. Free throw percentage 81 to 89. Jazz lead there 17 of 21. For the Bulls, 24 of 27 for the Jazz. Rebounds 43 to 36. The Bulls lead in that category, 36 to 30 in assists for the Bulls. 10 to 9 with the steals. The Bulls lead there. 5 to 2 with the block shots. Bulls lead in that category. 13 to 13 in the turnovers. Exactly 16 points given up by both teams. That is funny right there. 20 to 12 advantage for the Utah Jazz with the way that they were able to get out into the fast break. But look at the points in the paint for the Utah Jazz tonight, 72 to 60. Got to give them a ton of credit. They were running some good plays. I felt like Ace Bailey, yes, was getting a lot of these lobs and stuff like that. And so they were running some good stuff, getting it into the paint. And the largest lead there you see for the Bulls, 12, the largest lead for the Jazz, 4. And so that's why you got to give the Jazz a lot of credit for really scrapping back into this game, because it looked like that the Bulls were going to run away with this thing, but the Jazz came back and made it very interesting. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking as far as your key takeaways from this win against the Utah Jazz. And so they have another game coming up Friday. We got a lot to talk about as there are more trade rumors. And so we will be talking more about that as obviously that's going to pick up with the NBA trade deadline fast and approaching here. So anyway, you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. And as we always say, go Bulls, and I will see you on the next one. All right, peace.